Sonic Riders. In my personal opinion, Sonic Riders might be one of the greatest spin-off racing games ever made, ever. Honestly, with all the racing games that are out there today, none of them really strike me the same way that Sonic Riders does. I think the biggest thing for me and a lot of people was that rather than using regular dinky cars or running on their feet, they use hoverboards. No, not the ones from 2015, the ones from Back to the Future. They dubbed these boards Extreme Gear, and let me tell you, my 6-year-old hyper ass was hooked. I already have a big love for extreme sports, so you're giving me basically a skateboarding hoverboard game with Sonic? Take my parents' money! But now that I'm older and I played the game a whole bunch of times, I'm wondering, how does the board hover? How are there so many of them? Who cracked the code on hover technology before real-life humans actually did? I tried looking up how exactly these came to be, and nothing came up. There were no wiki links, no YouTube videos, no Reddit posts, nada. So I thought, why don't I give it a shot? Ladies and gentlemen, Sonic fans of all ages, welcome to Attempting to Explain the Science Behind Extreme Gear. Just a heads up, I'm not a scientist by any means, so take what I say with a grain of salt, and if I do make a mistake, please correct me and point me in the right direction. Okay, thank you, let's go. The first thing I wanted to know was if there was any companies that made extreme gear. With all the types of gear and the amount of characters that use them, there has to be some company mass producing them somewhere. To my surprise, there actually is, and across the whole series there's more than one. According to the Sonic Wiki, there are 3 extreme gear production companies across the entire series. First, there's Robotnik Corp, which mainly dealt with the extreme gear and riders. Isosceles Triangle Exavive? Exavive Corp, which took over after Robotnik Corp ended and made the boards for Zero Gravity. And Excelivice, which was an unconfirmed successor for free riders. I mainly want to deal with the original version of the extreme gear, so Robotnik Corp is the company we're going to focus on. And that kind of answers our first question. Who mass-produced the boards? Eggman did. But why? Going over the cutscenes, Eggman didn't come into contact with the Babylon Rogues until a couple days before they snatched the first Chaos Emerald, and Extreme Gear had been around way longer than that, even though Sonic and his friends didn't really use them until recently. They didn't really need to because, Tails can fly, Knuckles can glide, and Sonic is the fastest thing alive. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a little side hustle for Eggman. Building all those robots cost some real dinero, you feel me? Eggman must have seen the potential in Extreme Gear and decided to make a whole company revolving around it, which would give him the funding for robots, the tournament, the tracks, literally everything we see in the game. So now I have another question. Who made the Extreme Gear before Eggman did? In the legend told by Tails, the Babylonians were considered thieves casted out by the gods, known for being amazing treasure hunters. Some people said they were descended from genies, which is evident in the ending of Sonic Riders when the Babylon Guardian was revealed to be a powerful genie. The Babylonians were revered as pioneers and experts in extreme gear. The first prototype was the carpet the Guardian was protecting, which implies that extreme gear is a little bit more than it seems. Whatever extreme gear Eggman made to mass produce is clearly a watered down or manufactured version of the true potential that the Babylonians captured in their own design. It even gets expanded upon in Zero Gravity when it's revealed they were using alien technology to build Babylon Garden. I don't know what's more impressive, the fact that Sega put this much lore in a racing game or the fact that Eggman cracked alien technology. Nah, Sega's more impressive. So now we know the answer. Eggman made the extreme gear as a descendant of ancient Babylonian tech. So, how the heck did he figure that out? Well, they kinda told us.
Still, how can a plank like that just float?
That's easy to explain. According to the Cutter-Joukowski lift theorem, the control surface flow is balanced by the inverse kinetics of the...
Stop! I get it, okay? It just floats, and that's good enough for me.
No, Knuckles, that is not good enough for me. Knuckles was almost the reason this video didn't exist, but luckily, Tails is too smart for Knuckles, and Knuckles kind of went with the idea of it can float. What Tails was about to mention was the Cutter-Joukowski lift theorem. Yeah, physics. Prior to this video, I thought it was a completely made up thing, but it is actually real and very essential for aerodynamics. Alright, according to Google, the Kurzgesagt lift theorem is a fundamental theorem in aerodynamics used for the calculation of lift of an airfoil in any two-dimensional bodies, including circular cylinder. Alright, let's try to simplify this down for everyone else, and me. Alright, let's put it like this. Say you have a ball in your hand. If you just drop the ball, no forward speed, it'll fall straight to the ground due to gravity. However, if you force the ball in a direction as you let it go, it'll go in that direction. And the more force you use, the longer it will stay in the air. You can do other things like putting just brute force behind it, spinning it. Doing anything like that will keep it in the air and move it in a direction for an extended period of time rather than just falling straight to the ground. To put it simply, air plus speed equal float. Got it? Good. The best example of this? Planes. Planes are giant metal cylinders in the sky with little baby flaps. Logically, it makes no sense, but if you give them enough speed, they can travel the entire world without touching the ground, and that is something literally almost nothing else in the world can do, and it doesn't make any sense, but it works because science. So that explains how the board works scientifically, but how does it work mechanically? With this base theorem in play, we can finally get a basis for how Extreme Gear works. Sadly, I wasn't able to find any concept art of the internal workings of Extreme Gear, so that was out the window. So I drew some myself. There is the outer shell, what riders place their feet on in order to actually control the board, and within that shell you have the Extreme Gear manufactured by Eggman. Every model kinda uses the same base, which means all the base components are identical no matter what board you have. It kinda explains why Sonic could ride Storm's board in the beginning CGI cutscene of the game. Somewhere in that base there is some place where it intakes air. I believe it's the front of the board because when you're traveling, you go forward, so you need to intake air, and that'd be the easiest place to have it intake it. That air, when going at the right speed, has enough power to propel air back out through the bottom of the board. Yes, I checked every board in the first game. Each one has 2 slots for air to propel out of on the bottom. Interestingly enough, they would be in the same place as trucks would be on a skateboard, so it kinda works out. I assume there's some kind of limit to how much air output the board can have at the bottom, so any other air is then stored in an air tank inside of the base. This air tank is the board's bread and butter. It literally needs it to survive. A little bit of a side note, I believe Eggman had each board, whether customized or not, have a tournament limiter, a way to limit the amount of air that can be in a board and how fast it can run out. I say this because in any other cutscene, the characters can travel long distances without actually having to refill any air. The boards run out of air fast when you're actually racing, so there's no way they can be like that in recreational use. Any air distributed through the air tank can be used for one of 2 things. The first would be just normally propelling it out of the back of the board. But since you're using the air, you'll go forward, but you'll gradually drain your air. You'll slow down and then go on foot, just like in the races. But if the air gradually drains, how do you earn more air? Using all the obstacles, rails, air boosters, and environments laid out in each track. If you look, none of the actions actually require any air to get to, so it makes sense that it helps you restore air. The second use is jumping. If you played the game before, did you ever notice how a character would greatly slow down before a jump? That's because the air output from the back of the board is greatly decreased, so the jump would have a lot more power and force. As for why tricks restore air, I'm leaving that up to Eggman's limiter. It can probably analyze and determine each trick and how well you landed, so it can judge it properly. If you land well, you get your air back. If you land poorly, you get less air back. For the little smaller details, they probably don't have in-depth answers. How come when you go fast, the lines behind the board change color? It's similar to the exhaust on actual cars. If you go fast or you rev your car, the flames will come out of the exhaust, and they'll change color occasionally. How do you actually stop the board? Like any other board, you slow down, you get off. If you're off, the board doesn't need to use air, so it turns off by itself. If you fall off, the board goes flying, like any other board when you bail off of it. So let's sum it up real quick. The board intakes air into an air tank. If enough speed is achieved, the air tank is used to propel the board forward as well as making it hover. With this air in the air tank, you're able to make large jumps, turning maneuvers, drifting, and even create large air turbulence tunnels. The boards were mainly produced by Eggman, but were customized by Extreme Gear specials like Wave and Tails, and they come from ancient Babylonian/alien tech. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Why not address zero gravity? First off, I love the series. Even little bits of Free Riders. Riders was literally my bread and butter, and Gravity was the same. I still play both to this day. However, I give Riders more attention because of the mechanics. Remember when I said Eggman made a watered down version of the Extreme Gear to sell to people? Yeah, that's how it felt going from Riders to Zero Gravity. Instead of making sure I had enough air and the right timing to charge my jump to go as high and far as possible, I just had to press the X button at the right time. Instead of being able to drift around corners and make slides, they had the gravity dive, which was very, very overpowered if you knew how to use it. They even took away character types. You can't grind, fly, or punch by default. Gravity made you have a specific gear that can do that specific thing, and then locked it behind a wall you had to unlock with coins. Riders, while it was a lot more difficult for me as a kid, felt more rewarding. It was something that was easy to pick up, easy to learn, and very, very hard to master. But when you've mastered anything, you felt good. And it's a bummer because I look at the tracks in Gravity and I see how well the Riders mechanics would fit with all of the tracks. However, I've seen the modding community with Sonic Riders that is very much still alive, and they are doing incredible things. The Sonic Riders Tournament Edition, which lets you play against other people online. Someone's trying to recreate and make their own game of Sonic Riders. Someone's implementing the gravity tracks with the Riders mechanic like I literally just mentioned. Sega clearly had a gold mine here because people still care about this game almost 15 years late. This game is 15 years old. Oh my god! Anyways, I wasn't okay with the idea of it can just float or it comes from space. I wanted the actual reason. Yes, I know the game is about an anthropomorphic hedgehog who flies on a hoverboard, but it has good lore and the mechanics are fun, and I really want to do this video for a long time. So yeah, that's why this exists. Maybe Sega can smarten up a little bit and make a remake or a remaster for this game and put it on newer consoles because it's really, really fun. So in summary, air, speed, float. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time. Alright, video over. Oh my gosh, this took me forever to make. Actually, it took me not that long to record and edit. It just took me forever to get up the balls to do it and get up to a mic because social anxiety is real, kids. But yeah, this was fun. I'm gonna try and make videos like this more often. Leave a like if you liked it, or a dislike if you didn't like it, or subscribe if you subscribe. If you're just passing through, hi, my name's Jay. Nice to meet you. I like making videos. This was actually really fun. I'm gonna make more of these. I want to make content for you guys now because I want to take this thing a little more, not seriously, but I want to have more fun on here. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.